Hi, it's Dr. Marino. Also on our list this week is Film School Classic by film school master Akira Kurosawa, his great Throne of Blood, sometimes also titled Spiderweb Castle. And I'll admit right up front, I don't speak Japanese. Probably most of you don't either, which means we're involved with subtitles. So let's talk about, first of all, what Kurosawa's task is. Kurosawa has the job of translating Shakespeare to film without any of the language because he's got none of the words to use. And he's not using a Japanese translation of Macbeth. He's using the basic storyline and doing other things with it. He's not so much interested in translating the poetry as translating the images in the poetry, but creating visual images. So like the silent films, we have a complete slippage between Shakespeare's language and what's happening on screen. We're sticking the plot, we're sticking the dramatic structure. We're maybe sticking the dramatic structure in some ways more than films in English using Shakespeare's original script do. We're going to start, for example, with that long, to many readers, tedious recount of the battle that Macbeth has won. And that's how we're going to start. We're going to start with a bunch of Japanese like warlords sitting in a semicircle getting reports from messengers and on a misty day. Look at the mist, by the way. There's lots and lots of mist. What is happening? Kurosawa is the Japanese filmmaker most beloved in the West, and most influential in the West, and his influence shows up in Hollywood too. You have seen movies influenced by Kurosawa, or or been influenced by Kurosawa. Hell, have you seen Star Wars? Because a lot of Star Wars is ripped off from Kurosawa's movie, The Hidden Fortress. If you've seen The Magnificent Seven, you've seen a ripoff of a loving homage to Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai. And if you saw the Brenna Macbeth with that opening shot of the Seven Riders, you've seen an homage to The Magnificent Seven, which is an homage to the Seven Samurai. Kurosawa is part of a complicated feedback loop between America and Europe on the one hand and Japan on the other. He's heavily influenced by Western film and literature, and he creates these films. This is not his only Shakespeare-oriented film. He also created the 80s he did Ron, which is it's King Lear in feudal Japan with the daughters as sons, because feudal Japan. And there's The Bad Sleep Well, which is a heavy influence on the Almereda Hamlet. He's also influencing, you notice it's a feedback loop. He is influenced by the West, but also creating movies that are accessible to Western film buffs that become then influences in other directors. So you've seen a lot of Kurosawa. He is the most international of Japanese filmmakers in the post-war period. And why I said post-war period, yes, this movie was made 12 years after the country wherein it was made lost a devastating war. Its attitude towards war and destruction is reasonable in any circumstances, but more plausible when you realize it's just Japan has really lost a military confrontation in a very bad way and been occupied until recently by military occupation. That's also part of the cultural politics of Kurosawa's dialogue with the West. But instead of taking this English language source text and just doing it, he's putting it back into Japan's own history and reimagining it as a Japanese story in a Japanese setting. We have the characters. He is heavily influenced by the No tradition, N-O-H. The actors are actually are made up and are using their faces to imitate the stylized makeup and masks of No drama performers from a traditional Zen-influenced Japanese theater. Traditional Japanese theater uses masks and makeup and a lot of stylization. These characters, it's film, there's a lot of naturalization here. There's a lot of naturalism here because it's three-dimensional, they're a film. When they shoot it with arrows, those are real arrows. They do not affect arrows. If he looks scared, if Toshiro Mifune looks a little scared, he is a little scared. They're really shooting arrows at him. And when he's hitting the arrows, which is on one hand a wonderful kind of dramatic gesture of like the pathos and denial, like, oh, if I just tear down these arrows, everything will be fine. They'll stop shooting at me. What the actor is actually doing, as opposed to the character, is signaling to the trained archers in the set which way he's moving next, so they won't shoot that way. Because, you don't want Toshiro Mifune to die on set. Even a movie this great isn't worth it. Asaji, who's the Lady Macbeth character, is based on a particular no drama figure, as is Wazushu, the Macbeth character. They are looking like, although the storyline is foreign, is imported, it's been combined with extremely traditional national elements from the distant past. And cinema is imported too. So there's a Japanese, there's a Japanification of these foreign things, but that also exerts an influence back on the outer world because this is a movie that ultimately becomes an export. As a filmmaker, Kurosawa is a master of black and white, a master of light and shadow. And what is more about light and shadow than Macbeth? Notice how foggy everything is in this movie. There's mist. There's a blurriness that's deliberate. If Polanski, whose film is later, is extremely sharp and clear and brightly colored, this is dark and moody. We pick up the foul and fair motif that, the language is gone here. When Macbeth says a foul and fair day I had not seen, what he's literally talking about on one level is the weather. Oh, it's a mixed up weather day. When we meet Wazushu and Miki the first time going through the spiderweb forest, they talk about how confusing the weather is, and we see light and shadow everywhere. That's how black and white works. You can't have light without shadow. It works by contrast. Anything dark is dark because something next to it is lighter. Light casts shadow. They go together. It's all black and white, and when you don't have contrast, you have that blurry mist. There is a certain Zen idea, pacifist idea here, that this is, first of all, that violence is extremely bad and just leads to self-destruction, but also that you shouldn't hold on to the attachment to men in this world. That, like Spiderweb Castle at the end of this film is at the beginning of this film, like the Olivia Hamlet. We start at the beginning with a little anticipation at the beginning. Spiderweb Castle is already gone. It is gone like it has never happened. Watch the camera work, watch the composition of every shot. He is a compelling photographer. These images stick in your mind. He knows exactly what he's doing all the time. Looking at a frame, if you want to do the analyze a frame prompt, this is not a bad movie to try. Not at all, because a still from this movie is usually pretty well composed and gives us a lot of pretty subtle information. I'd also point out the way that Kurosawa, like Polanski, tries to slip in images that are in the text that people talk about that never get staged, and he makes us visualize it. So on one hand, here there's a lot of that. There's a lot of the horse imagery. We'll see those horses a lot. At one moment where the first big Lady Macbeth showdown between Asaji and Wazushu, they're sitting very still in very formal positions in their room in North Castle, and outside you can see horses moving back. There's the natural world outside, but there are also references to Duncan's horses in Shakespeare's text, which Kurosawa hasn't followed in a kind of literalist or slavish way. He's just picked up those images and put them in another place. In any case, enjoy Throne of Blood. It's a feast for the senses. Glorious black and white. One of the great movies. Enjoy, and soon we will be talking about it. We'll be on to our last unit, and Henry V, and also Henry V. Thanks.